So welcome back to another video on the channel. Now, this is a very, very highly demanded video, and that is a live sales call breakdown. So this sales call that I'm about to show you and really just show you in real life, like how I structure calls and whatnot. This sales call was the newest client that I signed on board. I actually signed him on board at the very start of this month, so the 1st of September. Today is, I believe, the 7th of September. So newest client that I signed on board, and as I say, going through a complete breakdown of the live call itself. Now, what I do want to mention is that, for those of you in the Quantum Agency program, you guys will see I haven't actually followed the sales process that I go through in that program with you guys, simply because this was actually an inbound lead, and it was a very, very warm inbound lead. And so what I actually did on this call is I actually tested an entirely new approach. I wanted to test what it would be like doing no sales. Basically, that was it. Like that's the test that I wanted to do. I didn't want to sell in any way, shape, or form. I just purely wanted to use leverage the whole time, right? Just pure leverage, because that way I can try this new approach, as I said, see if it actually works on a live call. What I mean by leverage is simply the fact that I knew he wants to be a client of ours, so I positioned us as kind of hard to get. And I positioned it as though, we really need to diagnose his business to see if it makes sense for us to bring him on board as a client, as opposed to see if it makes sense for him to bring us on board as an agency. I hope that makes sense, and you'll be able to see really what I mean by that once we go through the video or through this call. And you'll be able to see that leverage being played out, and how really, as I mentioned, there's no sales tactics. I actually didn't take them through a sales process or anything like that. It was purely from a leverage standpoint. So just before we do jump into the live sales call breakdown, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Massively helps out with the YouTube algorithm and pushes this video out to the masses. And so with that being said, and with that being done, let's jump straight into the live sales call. So this bit, what I'm about to show you right now, is basically the start of the actual call. Just before this, we did a bit of kind of like rapport building and whatnot. We was basically speaking about the names and how my name's quite weird, but it's super popular where he's from. But yeah, as you can see, right at this point is exactly the point at which I kind of start the process of the sales call, if you like. Also, John, the CMO at Bax Consulting as well, is going to be hopping on very, very soon as well. So basically,
Cool.
we'll just kind of go through. Obviously, we've already spoken a little bit, on Messenger. So first things first, I'm actually quite curious. What obviously you mentioned that you kind of did like somewhat of a revamp of like the brand as a whole. I'm curious, like, what did you actually physically do?
Basically, I've changed all of the labels. So we had the same kind of look since I launched in 2016. So I just gave it like a little update, basically. Modernized it a bit. They look great. The products look fantastic now.
Sure.
And yeah, just kind of relaunched that kind of new look. Just basically, if I'm being totally honest, I've neglected this brand for possibly over 12 months now. Been concentrating more on my own thing, which, I shouldn't really have neglected it, because this basically is my ultimate like income, really. But I got comfortable. And I have to admit, like, sales went down by like 80% because I wasn't working on it. I just want to concentrate back on this brand, get it back to its peak, and even more, because the brand has huge potential.
Yeah. So I'm curious as well, when it was at its peak, obviously I know you mentioned that you were doing like Instagram, Instagram kind of just basic organic posting. So was that kind of it? And just before we do move forward, John has entered. As I mentioned, he's the CMO at Bax Consulting.
Cool. Hi, John.
Hello. Good morning. I think I don't know if where everyone. I know Kai's in Australia, but I don't know where you are, Sam. But good morning, at least from the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm in the UK, so it's good morning here as well.
It's cool.
So yeah, as I say, Sean, what was kind of, at the peak, was it just that organic posting that you were doing that you obviously
Yeah,
mentioned
so
in Messenger?
it was organic posting. I did try and do some Facebook ads, but mate, I have literally no experience with it. I was just playing about, but yeah, basically it was all organic. Sometimes I would do some Instagram shout outs on like other fitness pages, but mostly it was organic.
Cool. And what kind of were the results at that time? Because I mean, you know, for you know, to give you some context with clients that we bring on board, because we do have people obviously wanting to work with us and whatnot, we really do have to like handpick our clients that we bring on board. So because of that, we only ever bring clients on board where we kind of 100% know it's going to be a home run. And a good indicator of that is kind of like the track record and like how's things currently going and whatnot, you know? So
Yeah.
obviously kind of basing things off of, like you say, like the last 12 months is probably not a good or a true indicator, you know, to the success of or how things have been going, given obviously you mentioned, you know, not spending too much time on it.
Yeah. So basically, at its peak, but I was just getting started. Really, it was about making about 15 grand in Great British pounds. That's like I think around 28,000
30 in Australia.
Yeah, 30,000 Australian dollars a month, and that was just organic, no ads.
Okay.
So yeah, that was its best, but now like it's just like doing 4,000 or something a month. But that's like I haven't been working on it.
So as you can see, that's just the opening kind of section of the call and whatnot. And you can see already that I'm coming from a point of leverage, right? Again, obviously no sales tactics really are involved here. As I say, I'm coming from a point of leverage. So I was trying to ask about what were the numbers? So basically a bit of backstory about this specific client. He reached out to me a good couple months ago. And then I shot him over my schedule and whatnot. He actually didn't get back to me, so I followed up with him. And then at that point he said, and as you just heard, he basically was going through a revamp of the brand. And so I was like, cool, no worries at all. And then literally a month ago, I think it was a month to the day, that we had this call, so August 1st. So as I say, when he mentioned that was literally a month previous, right? So that was around on August 1st. And then like back end of August, he basically then reached out to me and said that he wants to hop on a call and he's ready to go, basically ready to move forward, right? So as I said, I knew he wanted to work with us. And so I was just trying to figure out like logistics, because even though I knew that he wanted to work with us, I still needed to figure out and ensure that he was a good client to bring on board, right? Like, yeah, I knew he wanted to work with us. Yeah, I knew I was probably going to sign him on as a client. I kind of knew that going into the call. But even though I knew that, I still needed to ensure that we could actually, he's actually a good client and whatnot. And obviously you would have heard just then that he was making around £15,000 a month, which is obviously, it's okay, but it's not the most. But the reason we brought him on board as a client, again, as you just heard, it was simply because that was all purely organic. He wasn't pushing stuff really at all. His Instagram page right now is at around 580,000 followers, 590, whatever. It's around that mark, almost 600K followers. And he was just kind of posting on there. He's got his own personal brand, so he's posting on there as well. Kind of just doing stuff really organically. Never obviously ran any paid traffic or anything. So £15,000 doing that is actually not too bad, right? And obviously now, because he's never run any ads or anything, but he's got a pixel installed on his page or on his website and stuff, there's obviously so much untapped audiences there that we can simply go ahead and obviously tap into and really scale things up via that. So that's why I brought him on board. But I didn't know this until I asked him those questions and went through those couple of things there. So that's why I was asking those things to start off with. But as you can see, as I mentioned, you can see me already laying those foundations of me coming from a point of leverage and me literally saying, look, we get a lot of clients who want to work with us and whatnot. And so because of that, we really need to handpick who we bring on board. That type of stuff kind of subconsciously lays down those foundations in that we're coming from a point of leverage and we're not really trying to sell him. Like we kind of don't need him as a client. I do not blame you. In full transparency, I really do not blame you. I mean, John will, definitely agree with this as well. The fact that you were able to do like
£15,000. We'll base things off of pounds just because it's easier. But completely organic, like not spending $1 on ads in any way, shape, or form. You know, like I mentioned to you, I think I mentioned to you in Messenger, like what Facebook ads does, and really paid traffic of any kind, is it just scales up the original results. Far too many times we get, people reaching out, like just their businesses failing tremendously. And then they want us to basically come in and turn it around and get like a 19 ROAS just straight off the bat. Now, obviously some brands we do that for, we bring clients on board where they're working with an agency right now or whatever, and the results are terrible.
Yeah.
To go from a business that's not even doing well organically, is losing money organically somehow. It's just like, it's just, it just doesn't work. But obviously given that, it definitely, for me and John, as I say, looking in on your business, something like that is definitely attractive, because as I said, it just kind of paid ads scales up the original results, and your original results are very, very good, obviously.
So
something, go ahead.
No, carry on, Guy.
No, I was just going to say, something that's also super important now, obviously what's going to now start to happen, if we do end up moving forward, is that every sale, we're going to be basically cutting into your margins, because it's not organic, now we're paying to get that same sale. So basically margins are super important as well. Some clients, we just don't bring them on board, end of story, to be honest. But sometimes it's businesses where like we'd have to get like a 3-4 ROAS just to break even. And, it's just not good. So on the topic of that, kind of what are your margins looking like right now?
Yeah, so this was a question I wanted to ask you, actually, because...
Yeah, for sure.
With the ads, is it possible to concentrate on certain products? Because there's 2 very, very popular products on my site. And I'll go into it now. I just want to see what the margin is on the most popular one.
Yeah, for sure.
So
take a dive into it, for sure. We've got time.
Yeah. So where is it? Just on my computer now, just trying to get.
You got it.
Yeah.
All good.
Okay. So the margin with this product is 72.4%. It's a brilliant profit.
Okay.
So at the moment the price is 125, and I make £90.44 in profit. So that's a good one, but that price is actually on the sale price now. It could be worth more than that. We could definitely scale the price if needed.
So that price is, you've got that on your website as a sale right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm cool. And it's still £90 profit.
And is that product, just to butt in on that just quickly, is that product as a whole a popular product, did you say?
Yeah, extremely popular. It's like a transformation package where they get a meal plan and all the like essential supplements in like a one bundle. And then we have the ultimate product. This one just sells out every time I launch it. I'm just going into the product now.
For sure. But yeah, that original one that you're talking about, that is definitely a very, very good profit margin, because your break-even ROAS is 1.3. So if we get a 1.3 ROAS in the ads manager, that's breaking even. So obviously at that point, anything above that's pure profit. So that's very, very good to know.
Yeah. And well, crazy enough, this same product actually has the same margin, 90.9%. This is like a fat burner. And this one's good. It makes £50 profit every time. But the margin is actually 90% because the product only cost me £5 to create. So
right, okay. So what's it on? And it's on the site for what? Sorry, 35?
55.
55.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that one's roughly the same as well. 1.3, 1.4.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, as I say, that's just super important to know, before bringing clients on board, like we need to kind of understand those types of metrics and whatnot.
Yeah.
Something else that's interesting to know is what is your, or what does your average order value look like? Back when you were kind of in your peak time, what was like the average order value?
Well, let me get into the analytics here.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, the average order value is £77.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But that's now. So I don't know how much it was. I don't know really how to figure out how much it was on its peak.
Yeah, at least we've got like a roundabout number,
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so with a product of £77 or average order value,
Yeah.
that's it's a pretty good number. And I take it majority of that is coming from those two products you mentioned, given they're your most popular.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you can see that I'm just asking questions, and in my, when I'm asking the questions and if he answers and I say something back or whatever, I'm always dropping the fact that when we look at bringing the client on board, we always need to ensure that this is correct. This is, all this stuff is subconsciously coming from a point of leverage and subconsciously basically flipping the script on what majority of people do, right? As I said to you before, majority of people try and sell the client and make them want to bring you on board as an agency for their business, right? In this, as I say, in this scenario, as I mentioned at the start, I was really just testing this out and coming from a point, not coming from a point that I've not come from before, but really just only coming from that approach. Usually I do sales as well and try and, do some sales tactics and whatnot. Here, I just wasn't. I was just figuring out what their numbers look like, what his numbers look like, figuring out his profit margins, ALV, all that type of stuff. Figuring out his profit margins, his, ALV, all that type of stuff. And as I said to you before, just coming from that point of leverage is super, super powerful, especially, as I say, in this case, when you know that the client wants to work with you. And this is what I kept doing, right? Kept doing this. Another question that I also asked was, what does his creative or content operations look like? How easy is it for him to get content? How easy is it for him to, action on the creative ideas that we provide him with and whatnot? Because that's super powerful. And again, I said the exact same thing. I said that, sometimes we bring clients on board and their creative operations just aren't in place. So despite us providing a whole heap of creative direction to them, saying we need more of this, this, and this, and this, and this, and whatever, we just don't get that. And again, I asked him, I was like, so what does that look like for you? Because that's super important for us. And again, he reverted back to selling himself. That's what he was doing. He was selling himself as a client. He was saying, yeah, but look, this is working. We can do this. I'm more than happy to do this. He's selling himself to make us say yes to bringing him on board as a client.
A little bit about our process. And that's how we always at least start with clients, is we always want to, basically kick off the initial launch with the best converting products, because what that's going to enable us to do is really focus on the copy and the creative front, because that kind of eliminates one variable, right? Like when we test and trying to figure out what's working and what isn't, we always want to try and just change one variable at a time. And so with something like that, where it's like we're just pushing the best products, we know that the product is a winner. We know that there's a market there for the product. So if we're not getting results, for example, we know it's not the product because we know that works, then that enables us to really triple down on these other areas, such as I say, copywriting, creative, and obviously at the audience level as well. Now, given that obviously it's a supplement brand, what I would think, and John, I'd like to get your input on this as well, but what I would think is the creative front would be more important, let's say, or more valuable than copywriting, right? If we have a client right now, one of our info product clients has got this mindset program. And so with that, we really, really push on the copy side because there's a lot to write about. And there's a process that we can take them through. Whereas with a supplement or, some sort of supplement, it's like, there's not too much to write about. Now we definitely do get creative and we, can write long pieces of copy, but I'm sure you can see where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what does your kind of, you know, creative process look like in terms of, you know, your ability to, you know, generate new content and whatnot?
I think it's on a very, very high level. The creativity of the brand is actually in the ads I create is awesome. If you go on my Instagram, things like that, you'll see them. I'm pretty on it. I've got me and my graphic designer are quite creative, definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah, part of the reason why creative is important, obviously, is because on social, I think this goes without saying, that stuff that looks like an ad usually doesn't perform very well, especially like top of funnel. Usually, it has to kind of be like any type of like it has to be able to get the click for cheap, of course, obviously, because you want to drive as much traffic as possible, but above all else, you want it to kind of capture the individual's attention. And a lot of the best ways we've seen to do that are stuff that kind of look like a native stuff, like something you'd see a friend post. Like, so in the idea of supplements, like someone kind of like probably talking to the camera, talking about why they love XYZ and how they felt doing XYZ.
Right. Cool. Yeah. That's something I can definitely get done. So that shouldn't be a problem. I'm actually looking into some athletes now as well, so we could get them doing it as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's just good to know, you know, that you do have a really good process in place and like kind of behind the scenes, because again, that type of stuff, you know, we don't, you know, we provide a lot of creative direction in that we give clients like, look, we want more of this and whatnot. And the reason we're able to do that is because it's all based off the data that we can see in the ad account. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, look, this is working best. This is getting the best clicks for the cheapest price. This is working best in terms of ROAS, all that type of stuff. So we're able to give a lot of creative direction, but, you know, certain times just the content creation, kind of the operations around that just isn't there, which then obviously severely limits kind of the results that we can get, really. Because as I say, you know, moving forward with Facebook ads, I don't know how much of kind of the content you've read about what I put out or whatnot, but moving forward with Facebook ads, the most important thing is the ad level. So it's the copy and the creative itself, you know. Far too many times, and you know, if we do move forward, one thing you'll see is that we don't try and complicate things just so it looks like we're doing more than what we actually are, if that makes sense. And you'll find that with a lot of agencies, they try and do all this different segmenting, and they try and do this and this to make it look like they're really busy and whatnot, when actually at the end of the day, simplicity wins. I mean, it's always won, but I mean, we just see it firsthand now in client ad accounts, you know, when we just go more broad with the audience targeting and we really hone in on the copy and creative. I mean, that's just really is where the results are at the end of the day, you know? So yeah, that as I said, that's a kind of a green light there as well.
I was going to actually jump in real quick. So the only not, I guess the only concern, but one of my questions to you, Sean, would be, so obviously there's hundreds of supplement brands out there on the market. What has kind of been your, I guess, unique selling proposition, or what have you done with Muscle Morph, obviously branding aside, to kind of feel like you're able to like spin it in a unique way? Like, is there a certain demographic that you're targeting? Is there a certain...
So as you can see, what I was just mentioning, you can just see that play out there and then, you know what I mean? Like, just asking questions, and then you could see him basically selling himself. I think that, you know, our content and whatnot, our creative, you know, creative creation, or content creation, whatever you want to say, I think it's really good. You know, we got the good designers on board, all that type of stuff. You know, it's very, very him selling himself as opposed to us selling ourselves, if that makes sense. Again, just coming from a point of leverage. So really, this is what we do the entire sales call. I was asking these questions. You can see John now is kind of jumping in, asking a couple questions in regards to, why is he different? What makes his brand, obviously, I'm sure you can tell by now, it's a supplement brand. What makes his supplement brand different from, all these other brands? Because again, that's something that's super important to ensure that your clients have. They have USPs. Now, if you're in the Quantum Agency program, you would have heard me speak a lot about ensuring your clients have USPs because it's so important. Why should people buy from your client's brand over their competitors? If there's really no USPs, there's no, as I say, there's no distinct reason as to why people should buy over your client's brand over your competitors, then results, getting them results is going to be so much harder because people will just go to the competitors if they're bigger or if they're more commonly known or whatever the reason is. So then it's very, very hard to get them actual really, really good results. All of our clients right now where we're getting a either really high ROAS or a good ROAS at severe scale, they all have USPs. Either their product is completely unique or whatever it is that they have. For example, supplements, a supplement isn't unique. A lot of brands sell it, but the client specific supplement has USPs. It's different, it's better, it's, whatever it is, right? There's a myriad of USPs, but you need to ensure your clients have them. And so you can see now this is where we kind of ask about that. And basically that's the sales call, right? We just go through these processes. Now the sales call was 55 minutes in total. I won't show you it all because it's really just the same stuff. Asking questions, understanding where his business is at, where he wants to go, what certain, metrics are looking like and whatnot. So not only is that coming from a point of leverage, but it's also genuinely showing us whether or not we can actually help the brand as a whole. If we can't help the brand as a whole, then I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to, offer them a position in the Bax Consulting client roster and whatnot. So that's really what we're doing. And now I'm going to show you the close and kind of how I go about that and show you really how well this process or this approach worked coming from a point of leverage, because you'll see at the end, I pitch the price and he's just basically like, yep, let's do it. Just before I do get into that, this is basically now, so I was going through all of those questions, as you know, myself and John were asking all those questions, figuring out stuff and whatnot. So then just before the close, I never mention price. You never want to say the price until the client asks you for it. Right? Don't just say, look, so we do this, this, and this, and this, and this. This is how we do it. This is this, and we charge $1,500 a month for it, and we charge $5,000 a month for it, or whatever. You don't want to say. You always want the client to ask you how much it is. Right? Never say it off your own back. And you'll see this play out right here. Basically, I've gone through everything. Myself and John, we figured out what we needed to figure out. We can see that it makes sense for us to bring him on as a client. Again, no sales, just simply asking a bunch of different questions. And again, coming from a point of leverage. And so now at this point, you'll be able to see me not only transition into the close, if you like, but also you'll be able to see me how I go about getting the client to ask about the price. As I mentioned, you always want the client to ask, never just say it, or you just out of the blue, the price.
Look, the results kind of speak for themselves. The fact that you never spent $1 on ads and you was able to generate, 40K, or not 40K, 30K a month Australian, 15, obviously English, from no ads routinely every month on month. That kind of just obviously speaks for itself.
Yeah, definitely.
So as I say, you definitely do kind of quote unquote qualify as a client, from a business standpoint and whatnot. Let's kind of dive into any questions, queries that you've got on your end.
Yeah. So basically, first question is, what is the typical value that basically you're looking to get to start off with doing an ads? How much of an investment should I really be looking at?
For sure. So in full transparency, like usually, because we've got clients right now who are spending 50, 60K a month. So, for those type of higher clients, really it ranges, from like anywhere from like 6 to 9K a month ish, in that range. But given that you are obviously not just starting out, but you've obviously had that lull and whatnot, and you just want to get it back up and running and whatnot, I'm not going to go ahead and charge you that usual, as I say, 6 to 9K per month flat fee. So what I'm more than happy to do is drop that down to 2.5K a month with a 15% ROAS in the back end. So really what that's going to enable us to do is, as we make you more money, we basically make more money. You know what I mean? It's more of a performance-based fee. And as I say, the reason that I'm happy to do that is because, I don't want to guarantee certain numbers, but myself and John, after kind of listening through, obviously you answering those questions, us just naturally having a deep dive through what we can see from, face value anyway through your socials and whatnot, we're pretty confident, you know what I mean? So as I say, I'm more than happy to kind of hedge my bets on us making you more money so that kind of we make that, normal client retainer anyway. We just obviously kind of structuring it slightly different.
Yeah, definitely. I'm more than happy to do that straight away.
Cool.
Because, I think this brand has so much potential and it could be like one of the leading ones.
So as you can see, that is how I went ahead and closed that deal. So obviously the whole call was coming from a point of leverage. Then at the end, I made sure that I positioned a number, as I've always said, we take a lot more of a deep dive in the program, of course, but it's never the number that you say, it's what you say in front of it, because any number can seem really big or really small. That same number can seem huge or it can seem tiny. And the way that you make it seem small, obviously you want your retainer, what you're asking, you want it to seem as small as possible. The way that you do that is by putting a much larger number in front of it, right? So the way that I did that on this call was simply by saying, the fact that he isn't as big as some of our bigger clients where we are charging, 6 to 9K a month. Rather, let's drop that down from 6 to 9K a month to 2,500 a month. So 2,500 a month seems a lot smaller now. If I said 500, 500, 500 a month beforehand, and then I said 2,500, it seems bigger. But if I say 6 to 9K a month, 6 to 9K a month, 6 to 9K a month, then I say 2,500 a month, just seems a lot smaller. So you can see me do that right there and then. And then I also pitched the 15% ROAS deal. So he will be, as I mentioned to you before, as this title of this video says, I think I'm going to do around 6K a month plus. But in full transparency, I think these first couple months is definitely going to be a 10K client, and maybe once we start scaling pretty heavily, I think he could maybe even go past that mark just because of that 15% ROAS deal as well as the flat retainer. But obviously I explained that it's a performance-based fee. So the more money we make you, the more money that we make. And then that's naturally going to go to that 6 to 9K a month client anyway. So that's basically how I did it. And as you can see, because the whole call was coming from a point of leverage, I structured the pitch in that way. I got him to ask us what our pricing is before I mentioned it. As soon as I said it, he was like, yeah, more than happy to go forward, more than happy to do it right now, let's do it. So basically what happened after that point in the sales call is I just shot him over the invoice of 2,500, which is the flat fee, shot him over that, said just go ahead, check your inbox. He obviously went ahead and paid. From there, shot him over the onboarding process, and that was a closed client. So that was a live sales call breakdown. Let me know if you guys enjoyed videos of this nature. I will definitely continue doing them. If you did enjoy, I do have sales calls a lot. So I've got a lot to choose from. I've got a lot of content in this arena. So as I say, if you did enjoy, make sure you let me know. If you did also find value, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.